Good evening, nerds, and welcome to another episode of Holy Shit, I'm Late. Hey, and welcome to this video. My name is Nina, and today we are going to be building a Norwegian skiing resort type of thing at the top of a mountain. Didn't see that one coming, did ya? And I'm very, very excited for this one because it is very different to what I usually do, but you will see that in just a bit. But as you can see, we have this open space towards the back of my island, and it's going to be kind of surrounding the secret beach, kind of. And we will also be having little perspective build, which I'm very excited about. So without further babbling on, let us hop right into the video. So I'm going to start off by editing this little cliff and placing a bunch of inclines, or planning out to where I wanted to place these inclines, because I wanted to use a bunch of natural ramps to make this feel like kind of ski slopes, if that makes sense. And while I'm doing that, let me just say, this is kind of a last-minute production because I built this last night because I noticed that I am not going to be able to bring out the design tips video as I planned to do today, because boy, does that take a long time. So we are going to fall back on this little idea that I have been trying to plan out a couple of weeks now, and yeah, we're gonna do this today because it was actually suggested by one of you guys, because I asked you a while back what you'd like to see, or what you think would fit this kind of Scandinavian Nordic country inspired island. And one of you said that they would love to see a skiing or sleigh type of area, because apparently Norwegians invented Nordic skiing as a transportation. So I thought that was a nice idea, and I'm very excited to be sharing this. I've said that a couple of times now, but back to the fact that this is a last minute kind of build. If this gets very strange, this voiceover at one point, I probably won't have as much time to edit it, because I have been pouring my heart and soul into the design tips, which I am so excited to come out once I get them done in like 3 years time. But yeah, so you will have to excuse me. I will try to be as normal as possible. So I'm very close to finishing this cliff editing thingy, and now we're making a start on kind of planning out how this perspective thingy is going to look. Because we have built this kind of hiking trail through the woods a couple of days back, and I wanted to include the dormant volcano originally for that and kind of use them as mountains, but that didn't really work out because the distance between the mountain and the viewpoint wasn't big enough. So I wanted to really make use of this item because I think it looks so realistic, and flop it at the back of the secret beach and have it kind of in the distance, make it look like there's a mountain. And we will also be flopping in 1 or 2 more by the end of this video. So this is also going to include a little perspective build. You won't be able to access the kind of lowest section of this build, so the actual ground level of the build is not going to be accessible. I'm not going to put an incline there. I was originally going to do that, but I thought a perspective would make this feel a lot more realistic, because you probably wouldn't be able to view the lowest section, kind of like the goal section of the skiing trail from the top of the mountain. That probably wouldn't make as much sense. So that's not what we're going to do. Instead, we're going to make this little perspective build, and we will have everything connected by a ski lift kind of that I tried to do. Now, you have probably seen a couple of people use the swinging benches to create ski lifts. That has been a trend for a while now, but I saw the transit seats and I thought that they would make the perfect seat for a ski lift. So I'm actually going to layer these behind each other. You will see that in just a bit, but now I'm actually just planning out planting all my trees. I will actually need to plant a couple of new ones to also get the tiniest little growth stages, so that we really utilize and play with the perspective so that the trees look tiny from up above, kinda. I was trying to go for that, and I really like how this will turn out in the end because it's so different to what I usually do. There's going to be a lot of open space, and not every single tile will be covered in a custom design or flowers and whatnot. But yeah, how's everyone doing? I really hope you're well. I really hope that if you celebrated Christmas, it was a nice one for you, and that you had some lovely time with your loved ones, or just doing whatever you wanted to do on that day. And today I thought that this spill was also a very nice touch, because usually, like when I was younger, if we went to go kind of on like a skiing kind of holiday trip, vacation, whatever, it would usually be around New Year's, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity. But yeah, really enjoy how this will turn out in the end, and I can't wait to go stargazing here. But here you can see I've just skipped a couple of days to place the 2 inclines, and now we're actually making a start on planning out where the ski lift is going to go. And I'm also going to kind of place these swinging benches and the transit seats behind each other, but kind of on a diagonal, to make it feel even more like a perspective build, and to make the ski lift on the lowest part sit even further away from the viewpoint in the end, so that it looks even smaller, because there's obviously not like a proper item that we could use as the smallest little thingy of the ski lift. So we're just going to make use of these. And I really like how it turns out in the end. And I also tried to include one that's kind of backwards, like facing backwards, just so that we can have a bit more realism, because you would obviously also need some skiing lifts go down. That's usually how they do that. But since probably not many people are going to sit in it, I kind of pushed that back and into the forest to the left side, and this foliage part is going to be a lot denser, so you will barely be able to see that. And in the end, I will also craft 2 more swinging benches to layer behind the lowest transit seat and the one that's kind of downward facing. And then I also used the utility pole as the welcome to another episode of explaining stuff but making it more complicated, as the kind of pole where the strings would be attached to actually hold the transit seats, or like the little ski lift seats. So yeah, just try to make this as realistic as possible. Obviously it's Animal Crossing, so yeah, and I'm not as good as like many other creators when it comes to realism, because I do like a pop of color sometimes. But yeah, I really like how this turned out in the end, and I love the blue because it just works so well with the color scheme that we have going on the island. You can also customize the transit seats to different colors, and I also went for the white kind of siding to really tie in with the swinging benches. So that's what we did. And now I'm starting to lay out this ski track kind of path, this skiing trails that I made. I made that path myself. I will also publish this path shortly after this video is out, just because I want to get a bit of a graphic thingy going on to showcase the design a bit better. But I will release that on Instagram, and probably also make a little post on my community tab, so keep a look out for that if that's something that you're interested in. I only made one that's kind of straight facing and one that's diagonally, like from the left to the right, because that's really all the slots that I wanted to give up for it, and I think it still works. I was initially going to make some like kind of curvy skiing trails, but that didn't really work out because I'm not that talented, and that was very hard, so I went with these kind of straight designs, and yeah, that's what we're going to go for. I also made this little kind of like skiing sticks. I wouldn't really know what you would call them. But I also made these to kind of flop on the ground and then layer some cute little items on top of them to make it feel a bit more realistic. Also, I didn't create end pieces to these designs, so you will need to either flop some shoes there or layer them with fencing or like a leaf pile or something like that. I will layer some of them also with some scattered papers, because maybe someone was like handing out leaflets to kind of like advertise this ski lift. I don't know why you would need to advertise it while you're standing in front of it, but that's what I did anyways to kind of mask the fringes of the trails. And now I'm going to this lower section of the build, and we will also later be implementing some of the ski trails. I always want to see ski tracks. I think you can even say that, but skiing trails feels correcter. More correct. So that's what we will also be doing. And I also cut out a bit of this because it's kind of tedious to lay these out, just because you have to think of how you would want these to be layered, because I did make an option that you can kind of cross the little trails, like kind of have an intersection where they cross paths, and I also made a couple codes to make that as realistic as possible. So yeah, it's kind of tedious to lay them out, but I think it's worth it in the end. And I also used one single doghouse just to make it feel like a log cabin that's kind of somewhere in the woods that you could see from up above. I thought that was feeling kind of cozy, and it kind of ties in with the idea that we will also be having a fully sized log or wooden cabin type of thing to the right side here. So I thought that would be a nice little thing, and just give a little bit more detail. And I love that the doghouse, the version that I used, kind of also ties in with the red and white kind of color scheme that I'm trying to go for this island when it comes to buildings. So that's what I did. And I feel like I'm not getting a chance to breathe today because, oh god, I'm just all over the place with this build, and I'm trying to keep up to actually stick to what I'm doing during this build, because usually I just go way off topic and end up saying a bunch of random shit that no one actually cares about, and I will just babble on for like 20 minutes until the build is done, and then I will be, oh, this build is done now, so thank you so much for watching. So that's not what I'm trying to do, even though I just did the exact same thing. So back to the build. I also used these stadium lights, I think they are called, because I think they look very realistic, and they kind of remind me of these like kind of flood. I'm not sure if you would call them floodlights. I think you could probably. They look very realistic in comparison to what you would usually see as kind of like street lamps, I guess, to lamps, not lambs. They're not sheep on the skiing track, Nina. But yeah, I think they just tie in with this whole kind of like steel metal color of the utility poles you would expect from like a ski lift. So I thought that was just a nice little touch of realism there. And I also used two of these. I used them way back when the build started, but I used these ski racks, and I hate that you apparently cannot customize the wood color of them, or if like I tried to customize them or have Reese customize them, but apparently he wasn't able to do that. He can only customize the color of the actual skis, and yeah, that's just a little unfortunate, because I would have loved them to be either white or like a steel color or like a dark brown, because they just don't really go with any other elements that I'm using in this build. But I still wanted to include them just because these are the only proper skiing items that we have in the game, or at least these are the only proper skiing item in the game that I know of. But if there's anything else, please let me know. I also made these little kind of flags because I thought they looked cute, and I tried to draw a little person skiing on there, so I thought that was cute, kind of like a warning little sign, like beware, you're going off track now, maybe take a turn, don't go right straight into the bushes. So I tried to do that, and I thought it looked very cute and made it look like there's like some snow at the fringes, which would absolutely not make any sense, but I thought that's kind of boring, like just a red background with a white icon. Anyways, let me go back to the build. I also layered, because it's one of my favorite things to do, I layered these signposts, because I did have them up on the cliff as a placeholder when we did the hiking trails, but I really wanted to implement them anyways again. I didn't really want tall items in front of the skiing track thingy, like the slope that's kind of going down to like the second level, so I thought that would just be too blocky, and I wanted to keep it fairly open simply because that's usually what skiing resorts look like once you get like up on the mountain and you go down, it's probably just a huge open area that you can, you know, go down on, and there's probably not too much going on the actual track. So I tried to stick and stay as close to that as possible, even though that's very difficult for me because I love me some good clutter. But I really think it turned out very nicely, and I tried to tuck it in between like some foliage parts and the little hut that I created. And I really also like how the colors are balanced by the end, like the reds and the blues. I think that goes very well. And yeah, just overall very, very happy with this build. I think this must be one of my favorite parts on the island, just because it feels so realistic to me, even though it might not be realistic to you. I feel like I don't know, it's one of my most realistic builds in my opinion. And now lastly, I'm also going to flop in some of these vaulting poles to kind of mark the fringes or the borders kind of the track, just so that no one will go off track. And this brings us to the end of the video. So I really hope that you enjoyed me babbling on, and if you did, I would very, very much appreciate it if you would give it a like and maybe subscribe to the channel if you're new. I would love to have you here, but I'm going to leave now with a montage of a finished product. Take care of yourself until next time, and bye.